In September 2009, 1 week before the arrival of Typhoon Ondoy, if you remember the destruction and the devastation of that typhoon, I received a very good job offer from a friend who was working in Qatar. And so with all my bags packed and ready to go, I flew to Doha on January 2 of 2010. I had a visit visa then. As my wife, Telma, and I were on our way to Naiya, she shed a tear. I knew it was one of sadness because it will be our first separation in 8 years of marriage. The 9-hour flight from Manila to Doha held a pleasant surprise. I scored a free upgrade to business class courtesy of Qatar Airways. And thus began my adventure in the Gulf. I became an overseas Filipino worker in Qatar for 13 years. As I left Manila to work in Qatar, it was a choice, but it was more than just a career move. It was a journey of faith, of service, and growth. 4 months after my arrival, I needed to temporarily leave Qatar due to delays in the issuance of my work visa and my residence permit. My company sent me back to Manila on paid leave. By divine timing, the morning I landed in Manila was also the afternoon of Matthew's elementary graduation. When I took the mandatory medical exam for my visa, I failed due to a TB scar on my lungs appearing on my chest X-ray. But after further evaluations, I was declared fit to work, declared as Qatarized, and continued my employment. During my road test to secure my driving license, I discovered, to my horror, that I had forgotten to fasten my seatbelt. If I buckled up while driving, it would be obvious to the traffic police officer sitting beside me. So I just stayed focused on my road test, and to my pleasant surprise, I passed. The officer, who was wearing sunglasses, he was either asleep or was miraculously unaware. Arriving in Qatar, I felt the weight of being in a foreign land. I missed my family. I was homesick. I faced the emotional toll of being away from loved ones, missing important milestones, and dealing with cultural barriers. In Qatar, proselytizing by non-Muslims is illegal, and restrictions on public worship meant I had to be cautious in practicing my faith. After an online search, I found an incredible blessing, a small Filipino church. It was a home church of around 40 to 50 kabayans. It was more than just a place to worship. It became my refuge, my second home, my family. And so, surrounded by kabayans who understood the struggles of OFW life, I experienced firsthand the power of fellowship, encouragement, and shared faith. Distance didn't weaken our connection with God. It deepened our reliance on Him. And so every Friday, which is the weekend in Qatar, or in the Gulf, so every Friday, despite restrictions on open worship, we gathered in a soundproof villa with a hunger for God's presence. So we prayed, we studied the Word, and carried each other's burdens in prayer. And so the church was not defined by a building, but by the hearts of those who came together to lift up the name of Jesus. After 2.5 years of living alone in Doha, the Lord made a way for my family to join me. Hinatid kami ng mga Dimayo sa NAIA. Parang hindi ba saya si JM? And of course, our first Friday, nagsimba kami sama-sama sa Doha. Matt and JM continued with their studies in the Filipino International School, and my wife found a job, ironically, with a competitor in the industry. So despite working for rival companies, I was her mentor. She was my protege. But it proved that even sleeping with the enemy could be professional and productive in our case. The family was complete when we celebrated Christmas 2012. Those were happy times. In our home church, JM developed a fondness for playing the drums and soon joined the praise and worship team. Thelma and I served in various ministries, offering our time and talents to support others. We opened our home for Bible studies. Our church there was like a mini FBC. So worship, discipleship, and outreach showed us how God works through His people. Serving alongside fellow believers gave us purpose beyond our daily jobs. In 2017, Qatar faced a diplomatic blockade. It was isolated economically and politically. The crisis threatened jobs and supply chains, but the country adapted, emerging stronger. What seemed like an obstacle became an opportunity, a reflection of how God works in unexpected ways. In December 2022, our Gulf adventure ended. We returned back to homeland, and God once again provided. Both Thelma and I secured jobs in competing firms, a continuation of our professional rivalry. As I look back, I realize our time in Doha wasn't just about work. It was about our kingdom commitments as God's chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, His special possession, so that we might declare His praises. Our Gulf adventure was about discovering the depths of God's love through the church family He provided. It's about our calling to worship and witness, no matter where we are in the world. Because even in the desert, the church flourishes. That's my OFW story. An overseas Filipino worker, but effectively an overseas Filipino witness for Christ. God and God alone deserves all the glory and praise. Thank you.